And there we go, we are live. Let's start it. Okay, welcome everyone to the 2020 APAC Groundbreakers Virtual Tour by Apaco UC. This year, our event will be the biggest one ever done with 174 sessions, including normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs from 123 different speakers over 11 days. Also, it will cover sessions on 4 different languages. Please remember to register to as many sessions as you can, and all sessions will be available to replay as many times as you want for 2 weeks after the initial session date and time. You can also interact with the speaker at any time during the 2 weeks by posting questions or comments directly in the playback session page. And I would like to say thanks to our Oracle user groups and the Java user groups that made this event possible, and also to our sponsors, Oracle Groundbreakers and CloudDB. Now for today's session, Oracle Cloud Applications Technical Training by Basheer Khan. Please feel free to write questions at any time during this session at the Q&A tab in the Zoom webinar, and the speaker will be answering them at the end of the session. If any issues during the presentation, please feel free to contact me at any time on the chat tab of the Zoom, and I will help you. That means any questions during the session, please post in the Q&A, and the speaker, in this case, Basheer, will answer at the end of the session. And any issues you have with Zoom, please let me know via chat. Now, without any more delays, I would like to leave you with this amazing session by Basheer Khan. And Basheer, you can take the control. I just stop sharing, and you can start now sharing your screen.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. Thank you for joining the session. On behalf of the APAC OUC, I'd like to welcome you. My name is Basheer Khan. I'm an ACE director based here out of the USA. With specialization in cloud applications and technology. This particular session specifically talks about the technology behind cloud applications. I hope you'll find this useful. For those of you who may not know cloud applications, I have a few slides introducing you to and explaining what these applications are. And for those who already know, hang in there. We'll go through a technical overview of the session. In this session, we'll talk about the data model. How do you do data conversion if you're coming to cloud applications from other legacy applications? How do you build reports? How do you customize or tailor the user interface? What happens to workflow in cloud applications versus some of the legacy applications you may have been using from Oracle? And the last portion will cover how do you interface these applications. And at the end, if time permits, I'll open it up to Q&A, as well as answer any questions you may have posted in the Q&A chat here. So in terms of cloud applications, as you may already be aware, Oracle has a number of applications. One was a flagship product, e-Business Suite, which has been around for decades now. And then through acquisitions, they got PeopleSoft, who had already acquired JD Edwards, and then Siebel as well. So Oracle has 4 different flavors of ERP applications. PeopleSoft was predominantly HCM, human capital management, human resource management. Siebel was more CRM-centric. JD Edwards was a full ERP suite with specialization in certain vertical industries, very popular application. So Oracle had these 4 different flavors of ERP, hundreds of years of experience working with them. Those teams came together and they leveraged the best business practices to create a brand new set of modern applications called Oracle Cloud Applications. Now, initially they were called Fusion Applications, then for a while they were known as Cloud Applications, and we're now back to calling them Fusion Applications. So what this is building applications that help your businesses from the ground up, architected specifically for the cloud. So these applications cover ERP, that is Enterprise Resource Planning, EPM, Enterprise Performance Management, HCM, Human Capital Management, talent management, marketing, all aspects of CX, that's customer experience, marketing, sales, and service. And then there are also applications that help you establish e-commerce or a common presence on the web for quoting, for order capture, supply chain management. So you name it. There's a whole breadth of applications that have been built and they've been made available for many years now. I was very fortunate to be part of the Fusion Inner Circle, which was created approximately 8-9 years ago. And we participated in validating these applications, initial testing, early adoption, and so forth, and have since been implementing these applications over several years now. So these are cloud applications. Let's look at each one, each pillar or each family of applications in particular. So under enterprise resource planning, you have financial management, procurement, sourcing. So basically all the basics of financial general ledger, payables, receivables, fixed assets, cash management, including project accounting, billing, costing, and so forth. So a complete set of financial applications, purchasing applications, project applications, collectively grouped under enterprise resource planning. Under HCM, you have core HR, you have workforce planning, workforce management, optimization, recruitment, talent, everything an HR department does, HR teams do globally. That's what is included in terms of functionality in this module or in the suite of applications. Then I mentioned customer experience, called CX in short. This includes all aspects of interactions with the customer. So that could be sales, it could be service, it could be field service, it could be you interacting with them on a website, you providing quotes, providing customer service, social media, and all aspects of interactions with the customer. So that's CX. Supply chain, this includes distribution, purchasing, sourcing, manufacturing, capturing orders, logistics, shipping, and so on. So all aspects of the supply chain, there are modules to address those. So this is another suite that's all available. So collectively, all those families of applications, namely ERP, EPM, SCM, HCM, CX, comprise the cloud application. So as you can imagine, it's a really large breadth of functionality that is built from the ground up, leveraging the historic experience that Oracle had with all the different legacy applications that they owned or acquired, owned through acquisition. So very powerful module. And over time, it has evolved. In the beginning, there's not a full breadth of these applications. Now, almost every aspect of functionality that the older applications provided are now available in this new applications. So what we're going to cover in this session is a technical overview of these applications. What is under the covers of these applications? What makes them run? And how do you understand that technology and how you can help customers as they're migrating to the cloud applications? So these applications are built with what Oracle calls middleware. These include several aspects of Oracle technical products, including database, application servers, BPMN, Beppel, business intelligence, enterprise management. So as you can see, an entire stack of technology products that were collectively called middleware. And now a majority of these are available in the cloud, and they were initially called PaaS, and now they're under the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Gen 2. If you go on the Oracle website, you'll see all these products available through the cloud as well. So Fusion applications were built using the same technology, fully powered by technical products that Oracle themselves owned. One of the most important aspects of these applications is the identity domain. So this is what controls access to the applications. To that end, within the cloud applications, you have a cluster of servers that maintain the users, the roles, the responsibilities, and each environment that you as a customer may acquire from Oracle has to, go through, or you'll have to first sign on using indicating what identity domain you're signing on to, and then which username, password you have to provide the credentials after that. So identity domain comprises a very important part of Oracle Cloud, be it applications or compute services or platform services that you acquire from Oracle. Everyone will be associated with an identity domain. Now, one other term you'll become familiar with, especially in the cloud applications environment, is what the support team will, if you log a ticket, they'll ask you, which pod are you talking about? Pod stands for point of delivery. So think of it as a group of servers that comprise of an environment. So you'll have a pod for production, you'll have a pod for test, you may have a pod for development, and so forth. So the point of delivery includes several logical servers, virtual machines that come together. They include their own identity domain, and then through that, you're able to connect and access applications. Now, for cloud applications, the pods will be represented by a 4-digit or 4-letter code. So, for example, production will be, say, you have those 4 letters ABCD. Production would be ABCD, and test would be ABCD dash test. If it's development, it'll be ABCD dash dev, and so forth. Now, if you had multiple dev environments, it'll be dev1, dev2, and so on. One unique naming convention that you need to be aware of, if you see a URL that looks like this, it has a planning suffix in front, so planning dash ABCD, that means it's production planning and budgeting application. Similarly, planning dash test dash ABCD will be the test environment for planning and budgeting. So we'll talk about the rest of the URL momentarily, but just wanted to introduce the concept of pod, point of delivery, and how looking at the URL, you can determine whether you're accessing cloud applications or planning and budgeting components of the applications. Now, if you notice in the second digit of that URL, no, this one, the third component of the URL, you'll see a country and then a number. So that represents the data center. So whenever you see the URL, you would be able to determine which data center that particular application is residing in. Here are some examples of the data center. Oracle has been adding many data centers, and they've really increased their footprint globally. In fact, I think they have the largest number of data centers today in the world, and that's how you determine which data center your applications are running in. Next, let's talk about the data model. What data model is being used in these applications. So the data model uses predominantly from eBusiness Suite. Those of you who are familiar with eBusiness Suite, you'll see some similar name tables and so on. Also, the data model for the CX side of applications came from Prebuilt. So it's a combination of many different historic or legacy applications that Oracle had. Oracle collectively called them Applications Unlimited. They're still supported. There's extended support for majority of these, but this new applications leverage the underlying data model, and then they overlaid a lot of aspects from PeopleSoft. As you can see, the concept of trees or hierarchies, the data effectivity, we're able to track changes that happened and overlay new value based on a date range. The concept of set IDs, we're able to stripe the data and extract information if needed, separate information if needed by business unit, as well as the person model came from PeopleSoft. Documentation is available. It's stored in a place called Enterprise Repository. Earlier, it was accessible by anyone, but now you have to be an applications user, or you have to be registered to the Oracle support domain to get access to the Enterprise Repository. There's also a help center available, a Google-like search where you can search for any information. And of course, what was originally called MetaLink, now called My Oracle Support. That's another place where you can get information about the data model. So this is the URL, or just Google Oracle Enterprise Repository. Once you get access to it, it may ask you to sign in. And then after that, you can look for a specific product family, and under product family, you can see the different tables and views. So this way you can get to familiarize yourselves with the different data models that are out there. Remember, I told you we'll look at the URL some more. So here's the rest of the URL. So we talked about the pod and we talked about the data center. The second segment here, FA, stands for Fusion Application. So it's always FA. That's what you had to enter. And then oraclecloud.com is also always common. So you could get access to different, excuse me, it skipped. There you go. You could get access to different modules within Oracle Cloud by logging in here. In particular, if you want to look at the data model, this URL that's on your screen here is what will take you to the BI publisher component, the XMLP server, XML publisher server URL. That's what is being displayed here. So depending on the pod and the data center, you'll get connected to different BI publishers. And the advantage of using this URL is it lets you create data models where you can enter simple query commands, SQL commands, and you'll be able to fetch information and data about different tables of views that are out there. So as you know, because cloud applications are behind, I mean, they are in the cloud, you're not able, the port that you typically use to connect to a database is closed and you cannot connect directly to the DB. This is the next best thing. Through a browser, you could connect to a DB instance, you could query any table or view from the cloud applications. And this is the best way for you to learn about the structure of the various tables, as well as what's stored in each of those tables. So listed here are the steps you could follow to do a simple query to extract information from a table or a view. These slides will be uploaded to the APAC OEC website, so you can come back and review them. So that completes the data model discussion. Of course, there's only that much could be covered given the short time that we have, 45 minutes. So that's why you'll get a taste of each of these areas, a little bit of each area. And then if you're interested in more, there are other sessions I plan to present, which will go into detail on each of these topics in future. Now let's talk about data conversion. When it comes to customers migrating from any applications that they've outgrown or for any reason they want to move to a larger ERP application, you have to go through a process called data conversion, where you're extracting information or data from the old system and moving to the new system. One of the best ways or the easiest ways to migrate is using what Oracle calls the file-based data integration. What it is a set of Excel sheets which have macros in them. So after you populate the data, you click a button, it'll extract all the data from different tabs. Some of them have one tab, some of them have as many as 16 tabs. You can extract the information as CSV files. Those CSVs get zipped. And then there's a 3-step process where you take the zip file, upload it to the cloud, and after it's uploaded, it gets extracted from those files into a staging table, and then it gets imported from a staging table. So anytime you're using FBDI, you have these 3 steps that you need to follow. Now, starting release 12, Oracle simplified it. You could, in the same page, you could go to the same page, extract and import to staging table in 1 step. So that's an improvement from release 12. And after that, you still have to run a process to import it from the staging table. So that's data conversion. Now, to get the actual templates, these are templates provided by Oracle. Sometimes they have changed in the past depending on the release. So it's always best to go to the repository, find the correct template for the right thing you want to import. For example, if you want to import customers, there's a template for it. If you want to import suppliers, there's a template for it, and so on. So best to go to the repository, follow these steps, find the template. The templates always have XLSM, which is Excel sheet, which has macros embedded. So it's XLSM instead of XLSX, which is the default for normal Excel workbooks. XLSM has the embedded macros, so look for that sheet, download it, and then there'll be instructions on the first tab, and then you can start populating the remainder of the tabs. So this is an example of the custom import template. As I said, there's instructions on the very first tab. This is the button you'll click once you populate the other tabs. Not all tabs are required, not all columns are required. So the instructions you can follow, first read these instructions, go to the tab, look at the columns. If they have an asterisk, that means you have to enter that value in that column. If they have two asterisks, that means you have to enter either or. For example, in the supplier template, you'd see supplier number, supplier name side by side. That means you have to enter one or the other, and so on. So there'll be some columns that are optional. And there are also comments when you click on the label, top row of the column, it'll have comments that will explain how big that attribute is, what values are allowed, and so forth. So um, it's quite a lot of information in these templates, and it's fairly easy once you get a hang of it. The best approach would be to try incremental loads, maybe to start with one record, try it out, and then if it works, keep trying the additional records and so on. So that is how data conversion works. Now, when it comes to reporting, there are many different tools, and there's a reason for having these different tools. I'll attempt to explain the different tools and how you can leverage them. I'll end with a summary slide that'll explain which tool to use for what purpose. So there's these four different tools I'm going to explain today. BI Publisher, what's Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence. In short, it's called OTBI. Financial Reporting Studio, that's FRS in short, and then SmartView. We'll talk about all these. So BI Publisher, I'm sure some of you are already familiar. It's already prevalent. For example, if you're an e-business suite user, you're probably using BI Publisher to build your reports. So it's quite a powerful tool to help you author and build and deliver reports. It has the ability to generate tabular reports that look like Excel, or more sophisticated reports as well, that like printable docs, invoices, purchase orders, or checks, and so on. And also it has the ability to use a concept called bursting, where after generating the report, you can actually email it out to different individuals or let it print on different printers and so forth. So it has a very powerful set of capabilities. Next, OTBI is it's for quick ad hoc reporting. Now, some of the tools you may be familiar with, which are of similar nature, Oracle used to call it browser and then became discoverer. So where you're dragging and dropping columns, you're laying out an ad hoc report, and then you're using it to extract information, quickly manipulate, export to Excel, and so forth. So it has a 7-step process. As you can see, the train stops on top. You select the columns, you select the views, edit the table, edit graph if graph is optional, and then you could establish and sort and filter, and then add some highlights to the columns or cells if necessary, and then finally save. So it's a 7-step process where you can build a quick query and do some analysis, and you could use it across transactional and operational data. So that is OTBI. Financial Reporting Studio, this actually got inherited from Oracle's acquisition of Hyperion. So those of you who have used Hyperion may be familiar with this. So this helps you build summarized reports for GL balances. So you could do income statement, balance sheets, trial balance, statement of cash flow, and so forth. So predominantly GL focused, balanced, summarized information. You can also build charts, as you can see here. You can have grids and so forth. So very powerful tool when it comes to general ledger reporting. And SmartView also similar, GL based, but the best part is it's an add-in to Excel. So it's very popular with folks who do the accounting. They use Excel, and this is a way to connect directly to the cloud, extract information, manipulate it, drill down, drill up, go in and figure out what a particular number represents, and so on. So SmartView is very quite popular. So these are the 4 tools that are available. There are a few more, but looking at those tools, this is a very good way to understand which tool to use when. You have Financial Reporting Studio and Smart View, as I said, predominantly GL based, and you can also use it for planning and budgeting modules. So these two transcend those two aspects of the applications. And then when it comes to subledger reporting, you're predominantly using OTBI or BI Publisher. And OTBI and BI Publisher also can be used for GL reporting, but cannot be used for planning and budgeting. So there's a good slide to come back to and check, so you know which tool to use for what purpose. Now, what you must have heard about cloud applications is that it cannot be customized and it's very rigid. Not entirely true, because what happens within the cloud applications is you have what's called a page composer that lets you go into any page and show or hide fields, add some logic to conditionally show attributes and so on. But realize that these aspects, when it comes to pages in cloud applications, predominantly the pages are built using Java, specifically using the application developer framework. Cloud applications do not use Oracle Forms, which is for e-business suite or JDE tools or people tools or Siebel tools. None of those technologies are used, primarily Java. The dashboard is based on web-centered technology, and there's no concept of Oracle Portal or PeopleSoft Enterprise Portal. What's happening now is the Oracle is shifting towards adding another framework, which is the JavaScript extension toolkit, Oracle Jet, as it's popularly known as. That's gaining more and more popularity, and especially when it comes to building custom pages, extending the applications. This is the platform that's being used. It's embedded within Oracle's Visual Builder Cloud Service. It's worth taking a look at that. So you can, one, alter the pages to a certain extent, and then you can also build additional new pages and embed them in the application. So it's not entirely rigid. It's not entirely impossible to customize. So if there's a need to add or address a gap in functionality, you can do so. So this is an example, and those of you who may be familiar with Web Center will see the similarity here. So you can get into a mode where you're editing any page in the applications. There you have the ability to add additional content or adjust attributes that are there, hide and show them. So there's a way built within the applications to customize the pages. So these are the steps you need to follow. So whenever you're making a change to the page, Oracle does not let you change it and immediately it affects everyone. You create what's called a sandbox, which is sort of your own work area. Nobody else in the company or anyone using that applications in that pod will have visibility to your changes. So you're making all the changes yourselves, you're testing them out. There'll be a bar on top that'll tell you you're within a sandbox. And after you're happy with what you saw, what you have created, you can publish it so the rest of the users can see it. Or if you don't like it, you can simply discard the sandbox and exit the sandbox. Then you can start over again. So it's a very good approach to create a work area where you're trying things out. If everything went well, you publish. If not, you can revert back. So check that out. Now, particularly in eBusiness Suite, there's this whole workflow builder where you build logic for approvals and so on. That is no longer available in cloud applications. It's been replaced with what's called BPM, Business Process Management. So you have the ability to go in and extend the workflow that Oracle provides, or add rules specific to a module. Now, when it comes to define the approval rules, there are two different methods. Whenever you had to define any approval rules for approving a purchase requisition or a purchase order or a change order, it's built within the functional setup manager. So slightly different way. I'd say it's an easier way because you can write English-like sentences and deploy those rules. All the other modules use what's called BPM worklist, a little bit more technical, but still manageable. So you have two different methods of defining approval rules. I have some screenshots. So this is, you can see the difference between defining business rules here for purchase document approvals, where it's a list of rules and you can select one, you can enable some, you add logic behind the scenes. But when it comes to BPMN, as I said, it's more technical. You've got to go and find the corresponding rules. For example, this is for defining approval rules for AP invoice approval. As you can see, it's slightly more technical, but this is where you'd go and define the rules. So this is something that I'd say is a good skill to acquire. People who can write rules really well are in demand. So if you're thinking of pursuing a career with cloud applications, I'd say this is one area. Of course, the reporting that I mentioned earlier, picking up those reporting skills and being able to create reports for cloud applications, also very popular, also in demand. So those are two very good skill sets you can acquire so you can make your foray into cloud applications. Lastly, we'll talk about integration. So there's several aspects to it. For pre-built integration, Oracle has already done all the groundwork. All you need to do is go and set it up, like any other configuration. As you go and define aspects to modules functionality, you can turn on and turn off switches. Same when it comes to pre-built integration. For example, if you want to connect to the bank and pull down your bank statement every day, that's pre-built. You don't need to write a special interface. You don't need any third party like SOA cloud service or integration cloud service or any other middleware. It's pre-built. So all you need to do is determine where the bank is going to be providing these files, the FTP location, go and say, go to the server, these are the credentials, connect to it. And if there's some encryption, there's some keys, you can provide all that. Once you establish the connection, you can make it import those bank statements on a daily basis. Same with sending out ACH or automated clearinghouse payments that go out. You could do so as well. Importing logbox, all these are pre-built integration that Oracle provides, so you don't need to build special bridges or build a custom interface. Same with, for example, with benefits providers. So once this is for the HCM module, if you have your different employees signing up for benefits and you need to send all that information to the benefit providers, that's a pre-built XML-based feed that will go out to the providers. You don't need to build a special bridge. But if indeed you don't find any pre-built integration and you have to build, these are the approaches that are popular. For outbound, what I mean by that is extracting from Oracle and sending it out to other applications. You can look for some published APIs. They could be SOAP or REST-based APIs, web services. You can leverage them. But the most popular approach is to use BI Publisher, the reporting tool I talked about. It's able to go to any data table or view, extract the information, generate the output in CSV or XML that can be picked up and used to send the information to other systems. So fairly easy, comparatively easy, I'd say, to inbound. For inbound, you must use APIs. You cannot directly write to tables, obviously, right? So even in on-prem applications, you're not supposed to write directly to any table. So Oracle has published a number of APIs. In the beginning, it used to be SOAP-based, but now RESTful services are very popular. So a lot of APIs that are available, and they add it every quarter. So you can leverage those APIs. If the APIs are not available, remember we talked about conversion and file-based data import, FBDI in short. You can use that till Oracle provides you an API for inbound integration. So this is the mechanism by which you can take data out of cloud application and push it back into cloud application. So some of the tooling that's available, you could use SOA Cloud Service, and particularly if you had EDI requirements or B2B requirements, you have to use SOA Cloud Service. That was before. Now what's happening is Integration Cloud is the de facto standard. I did put this up here because some of the older integrations were done using what is called Integration Cloud Service. Now you have autonomous integration using the Oracle Integration Cloud. So this is decommissioned and you're using Integration Cloud. The only reason now you'll go for SOA Cloud Service would be if you had B2B or EDI. So for most part, you're using OIC. And there's also a concept called self-service integration. I'll show you a screenshot of it. It's a very good way of building interfaces for productivity, and I'll show you that in a minute. So this is a screenshot of the integration cloud where you can go and establish connections, build integrations. Remember, I told you about Jet, Visual Builder, that's also available here, and so on. So this is one of the platform or OCI Gen 2 cloud services that are available that will help you connect. And when I say connect, you can connect cloud applications to other cloud applications. You can connect cloud applications to on-prem applications, or any on-prem to on-prem, or any third-party cloud to third-party cloud. It's basically middleware that helps you connect different applications. And there's also pre-built code that's available from Oracle, pre-built that you can leverage and deploy here. For example, they have pre-built integrations from Oracle's inventory to the warehouse management system and so forth. Now, I told you about self-service integration. That's for productivity. So you have these lightweight capabilities that you could have an email coming in, and whatever file that came attached could be saved to Dropbox and so on. So if you go and search for what are called public recipes, you'd see several pre-built productivity interfaces that help you optimize your work, make it more efficient. Instead of you looking at the email each time and saving the files, these all could be automated, or a task could be created, or from a task you can create a calendar invite. So connecting different productivity apps together is what self-service integration is used for, and it could be used in conjunction with cloud applications as well. All these are great skills to learn. As I said, the time is limited. I just wanted to give you a taste of what is possible, what technology is available with cloud applications. I do want to acknowledge that majority of the images I used in my presentation came from Oracle. They're not created by me. I do hope this was useful. I will go to the chat now and the Q&A and see if you have any questions for me. That concludes this presentation. And these are some useful URLs. If you want to learn about applications, go to cloud.oracle.com/SaaS, software as a service, and cloud.oracle.com/PaaS to learn about some of the technology components, including Integration Cloud. That's my contact email if you wish to send me a follow-up email, or you can follow me on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle, @bkhan. I hope you found this session useful. I look forward to doing many more presentations for the APAC OEC. With that, let me stop and see if any of you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Basheer. It was a privilege having you here sharing your knowledge with the community from Asia Pacific. We have no questions at the moment in the Q&A. If anyone have any such questions, please feel free to post in the Q&A. Okay, I got one. Is there any cost list for Oracle interfaces?
Yes, so the best place to look for cost would be to go to cloud.oracle.com, or even better, if you have a local sales rep, they will know the latest information. But if you go to cloud.oracle.com or simply Google Oracle Cloud Cost Estimator, you'll get to an estimation page where you could pick and choose what you'd like to purchase and see how much it's going to cost you. So several of our clients here are doing that. And as I said, the best way to get the exact cost would be to work with the sales team from Oracle and get the numbers from them. Because the pricing keeps changing, there are bundles that are coming out that'll make it more inexpensive for you. So please work with your local sales rep. Thank you for your question.
Fantastic. Anyone has any other question? Remember, this session will be playback in a dedicated playback session page for 2 weeks from today. And also you can watch again as many times as you want it. And you can also post questions in that dedicated page to Basheer anytime you have a question or a comment of anything. And then Basheer will be notified to reply us on his convenience.
Perfect. I look forward to the questions from you. Let your colleagues know if anyone has a question. As you heard, please post the question and I'll be happy to respond. And of course, you can also email me if the 2 weeks have passed. So happy to address any of your questions.
Saying that, looks like no more questions. The people start already to disconnect. That means thank you so much, Basheer. And once again, thank you for sharing your knowledge with the Oracle community here in Asia Pacific.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you.